Over the past decade or so, road bikes have gone from external cable, lightweight round tube designs to much bulkier aero steeds, which now nearly always have disc brakes. Whether you love them, hate them, or have no real strong opinion on them like me, it's undeniably getting rather tricky to buy a new rim brake bike, as quite a few brands no longer offer them, and more often than not when they do, it's on select bikes near the lower end of their collections. However, as CX bikes, gravel bikes and the aforementioned road bikes, and even TT bikes have turned their backs on trusty rim brakes, there has up until now been one place that has been a safe haven for rim brake lovers. That is, of course, hill climbing. We were slightly surprised then when three-time British hill climb champ Andrew Feather rocked up on his new disc brake bike. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Can you talk us through your latest creation?
I can.
So, the frame is obviously a Cannondale Lab71 Supersix. Now, we've covered one of these on road.cc recently, and it's certainly a very light machine. Was that your primary reason for going for this?
I think, disc brake bikes in general are becoming lighter and lighter. I think this frame weight is around 770, so it is really, really lightweight. The frame is generally more aero than previous iterations of the old rim brake frame. Obviously, you've got the aero bit here and the aero seat post, so I think, there are often certain parts of a climb where you are either going downhill or it's flat, so those advantages will come into play.
Yeah, so when you're choosing your bike, it's not all about what is the very lightest component, it's about balancing that stiffness, a bit of aero and the weight as well. So obviously there's a lot of Schmolke components going on here. Can you run us through a few of those?
Yeah, so I've run Schmolke for the last few years, and this is a very similar setup, I suppose, to what I had on my rim brake bike. Schmolke saddle, Schmolke stem and Schmolke bars. So yeah, they considerably do bring the weight of the bike down.
This looks, well, it looks paper thin. It looks uncomfortable. Do you find it uncomfortable?
I find the harder saddles are actually more comfortable. Yes, it does look very hard and it is hard. But if you've got it in the right position kind of thing, you're used to riding it like that.
And then obviously no bar tape, I'm guessing that's for weight as well.
Yeah, no bar tape. Often I'm criticised for riding around in the winter and on my ordinary training bikes also with no bar tape. Often that's just a case of the fact that I have not got around to putting bar tape on there, rather than trying to have this huge weight saving. But yeah, no, I've never really run the bar tape, so yeah.
And then I do notice that there's this 3D printed, right, this computer mount.
Yes, there was a guy from Sweden who contacted me when I won the Nationals last year and said, I've got this 3D printer and I'm really interested in making this specialist components, and I explained to him what I had in terms of Schmolke stem and Schmolke bars. He said, I can print you up something that will fit that, and he did that, and he sent that kindly through a few weeks ago actually, so it works really well, very lightweight, so yeah, nice little addition to the bike. And apparently the guy's a farmer in Sweden, so just a really random story, but very nice guy who sent me through it. Yeah.
He's done a good job.
He has done a good job. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Obviously you have your computer on there. Is that just to see the stats afterwards, or do you look at it whilst climbing?
I always tend to do my best rides when I'm not looking at my power, but it's always handy, particularly at the start, just to have a quick glance at power, just to know that you're not setting off at 600 watts for a 10-minute effort. So that's often the only time I do look at it. Well, there again, it's not just about the weight, because there is that additional weight having a power meter. So I've got a crank-based power meter, or an in-spider, a rotor in-spider, and I think it's very lightweight, but it's still 150 grams. Yeah. But I'd rather have that on and be able to assess the data than not have it on, really.
So rotor cranks, double chain set, and then this is the latest Dura-Race, isn't it? The R9200. So that's 12 speed. And I believe previously you've always been running 11 speed. So, well, in the last few years anyway.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
How have you found going to that extra one gear?
I think it's really interesting. You've got a slightly easier gear, slightly harder gear. So again, on a climb like this year, which is on the struggle, the Nationals is on the struggle, you've got lots of changes in gradient. You've got some really, really steep stuff. You've got some downhill bits, some flat bits. So I think, to have that range of gear is really useful, and that 12 speed you have that additional advantage, really.
And then wheels is obviously a big part of making a light bike. They're quite clearly Hunts. Are these the new ones?
Yeah, so these are the brand new Hunt specific disc hill climbing wheels.
Mm-hmm.
So they're ridiculously lightweight. I think they're around 960 grams. So yeah, amazing to ride. They're stiffer than the old hill climb rim brake versions of the wheels. So
I guess a lot of that is thanks to these carbon spokes.
Exactly, yeah. So I think the rim brake wheels they previously made were a steel spoke, whereas these new wheels are a carbon bladed spoke. So yeah, you've definitely got that increased stiffness of the wheels. They ride really, really nice, very fast, perfect for going uphill.
And I'm guessing to get a wheel set down sub-kilo, these are tubulars, yeah?
We had a long conversation whether the wheel set was going to be a tubular or a tubeless wheel set, but to get the ultimate weight saving, it was a tubular.
Yeah. And we still see some of the Grand Tour specialists, they actually go for tubulars on those all-important climbing stages. So I think that just goes to show that tubular is still lighter than tubeless.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And I think, having spoken to them, I think it would have been roughly around 200 grams difference for the wheel set, so it was quite a lot. So
no bottle cages, obviously.
No bottle cages. Whether I'll take the bolts out, I've never taken the bolts out in previous nationals, but I don't know. Every gram helps, I suppose.
Now this front end is, well, it's not like a lot of pros bikes I see. They're quite wide bars for a start. What width are they?
They are 42 width bars, and I enjoy having those wide bars, just particularly because I'm always riding out the saddle, predominantly on a hill climb. So you've got that added leverage really. So with the narrow bars, I have done it in the past. It just felt really awkward, and it wasn't my climbing style. So maybe someone who's got very good seated power, who's used to riding the climbs in the saddle, those aero bars would be an obvious advantage to someone like that. So it's much more of a personal choice, I think. So
yeah, and then obviously on a lot of hill climb bikes we see the drops cut off.
Yeah,
you've never been a fan of cutting off drops.
they're just such nice bars, and I also use I'm using the bike as an ordinary bike as well. So I don't really fancy riding around with bars cut off there, really. So and it would just look really ugly.
And then these shifters, they're quite upright. That doesn't look very aero. So
no, it's probably not very aero. But again, it's more of a personal preference, really. And because I'm riding out the saddle, it's just nice to have something to lean on, really. And that's why I have the bars the levers, very upright. Again, it's a comment I get often. Why on earth have you got the levers position, almost vertical? I don't know.
And then the chain, is that anything special?
So at the moment it's set up as a double ring, just because I think the Nationals this year are going to have lots of changes in gradients. I think you might need those big range of gears. I am going to try it with a possible single ring as well, but it's just finding that narrow wide chain ring, which is compatible with 12 speed at the moment. There's not much of a market. Obviously previously when I was running 11 speed, the narrow wide chain ring which I used was fine, but so this is the first time this year that I will use a wax chain, and it's a Silka waxed chain, and apparently that's a saving maybe of 2 or 3 watts. So again, everything counts. Previously I've just run an ordinary Durace chain, but yeah, this is all waxed. I've been told that I need to ride it in a little bit. I haven't yet, so it will be interesting to see what it's like. I don't want to get it wet. It's pouring with rain outside today, so I'm a bit frightened to go outside.
And then the brake rotors. These are Durace, same as you'd get on the XTR mountain bike group set. They look like they're both 140 mils. Is that right?
Yeah, they're both 140s. Obviously, a bit of weight saving there, and I just also prefer the 140s in terms of the look, and you don't quite get the flex with the 160s, so definite preference.
Obviously you don't need to get a wheel change from neutral service or benefit of the extra braking power of 160. So
no, exactly. So although I have got a little trick up my sleeve, which is slightly different to the Durace rotors, we've got some titanium rotors here, which is a definite weight saving over the Shimano. I think these are coming in at 49 grams per rotor.
That is light.
Yeah, I haven't used them yet. Really really interested to see what they're like.
That must be close to about half the weight of a Dura race rotor.
They are, yeah. The only thing, which is a slight shame, is you have to put the adapter on, which there is a bit of an increase in weight for that.
Okay, so this is a 6-bolt rotor on a central lock wheel.
Exactly, yeah. But I think, they're still coming lighter than the Dura race rotors, so yeah, I'll be using those. I haven't used them yet, so it'll be interesting.
And dare I ask how much one of these would set you back? Because titanium isn't cheap,
No, I think they're certainly over £100 per rotor, and they're made by Carver Bikes in America. So yeah, there's not many companies that do the titanium rotors, but yeah, that's certainly one of them.
Now I know a question that a lot of people ask with disc brakes is, do they not rub? And is that something you're worried about coming into nationals?
I think it's certainly something you've got to be conscious about. I think with the 12-speed, you've got a slightly wider gap, so you've got a bit more margin.
That was something on this generation Dura race. They increased the pad clearance.
Yeah, and I think it's also having trust in your mechanic. I use Bomber Bikes in Bristol, and he's done a fantastic job in putting it all together, because my mechanical expertise is pretty hopeless. So again, it's going to him and making sure that he's happy that the discs are aligned centrally.
So this is obviously the first year that you've gone disc brakes. Do you think that this is something that we'll see across lots of riders at Hill Climb National Champs?
I think more and more we'll be seeing disc brake bikes. That's the way the market's going. I think there will certainly be some riders who are still on rim brake bikes.
Well, that leads me on to my next question.
Okay.
Are rim brakes dead?
Difficult question then. I think not at the moment. I think there are still rim brake bikes around. You see people out riding who've got top bikes and they are still rim brake. But you look at the latest technology and it is all disc now really. And in a way, Schmolke are dictating the market. They've got the say really. So the weight is coming down. It's pretty small now. The margins are pretty small.
When you say pretty small, I know there's people out there that are going to be wanting a number.
I reckon the margins between this bike and my rim brake bike in the exactly same double ring setup will probably be 500, 400 grams, 400 to 500 grams difference.
And if a hill climber thinks that is offset by the gains of the aero and the stiffness, then anyone doing downhills and general riding as well, then
it's a no-brainer. Yeah, so
they're not dead yet.
They're not dead yet.
The beginning of the end.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
So there we go. Even the country's best hill climbers are making the switch over to disc brakes. Let us know if you think there's any way back for rim brakes in the comment section below. And if you want to follow Andrew's progress as he prepares for nationals, then where's the best place to follow you?
Probably on Instagram, Andrew.feather84, and also on Strava.
Cool. If you like this video, then please give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more cool bikes and cycling tech, and we'll see you next time.